Hello, everyone. My name is Padmini Nidumolu, and I'm the co-founder of Lean and Agile for Women, an organization founded to support women and to raise the floor for women so we can bring the narratives, inspiration, motivation to all the women and Lean and Agile spaces. And we can share our stories of both challenges and victories. So we can learn from each other, we can learn from the challenges of each other and thrive and go further as a group. As part of this organization, we launched an initiative called LIA100 or Lean and Agile 100. This is to honor 100 incredible women across the world who have had tremendous journeys in their own right, challenges and success stories. And the idea is, even if one of you get inspired and motivated as a takeaway from these interviews, this effort is well worth it. So as part of that, today our guest is none other than Oana Juncu from Paris metropolitan area. Welcome, Oana. How are you?
I am fine. I am delighted to be with you here, Padmini, and I am beyond honored to be considered among the 100 women that can be inspiring. So I'm humble at the service of the women in this great community.
That is fantastic. Pleasure is all ours, Juana. And what I'll do is I'll briefly introduce you to our audience now, and then we'll get right into the conversation because I know, there are many great things for us to chat about. So a little bit about Juana. As I mentioned, she's from the Greater Paris metropolitan region. Juana's extensive experience in software development and system management led her choice to Agile. She recently embraced the entrepreneurship path by founding Co-Emerge, a company that helps its clients embrace agility and build products that matter through lean startup. Oana acts as an agile transformation facilitator using creative solution definitions and train and coach agile teams to adopt the most adapted set of practices from Scrum, Kanban, and lean improvement techniques. And in her former position as a program director, Oana helped teams build an agile program portfolio become agile. And in the specific context of Eurosport, Oana held the CIO position between 2006 and 7, and she had her first reflections there about XP, Scrum, and Lean. Oana also participates actively in Agile French and International community as she strongly believes that connected knowledge is a value generator. She's a frequent speaker in different Agile French and other conferences, and she's a member of ALE 2011 and a member of Agile Tour Board since 2009. She's also an Innovation at Games trained facilitator since 2009 and developed an original approach to define products in a lean startup way called test driven business. That is truly phenomenal. So let's get right into the conversation because as I read through your bio, I was just, in my mind going through the layers of how that, what this, why this. So, we can get right into it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for presenting this extended bio. And I was saying, wow, this is, and there are other things now I put on top on that. I one of the things that I believe is that anyone, any person, and every human is a leader.
Yeah.
And my mission is to reveal the leader in everyone I'm working with. So because you've enumerated a number of things that I worked with, I'm interested in, and I put on top on that, yes, coaching and working with Legos and working with even with more psychological aspects of coaching as as systemic coaching and collective traumas, you know. uh, and I said, well, I am so curious to offer various practice to people so they can be proud, become proud of themselves and their outcomes, that I used to call myself in one expression an agile leadership DJ. I'm just
Wow.
mixing these practices.
Yeah. No, I love that metaphor because sometimes that's all it takes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to kind of, mix the ingredients because, I think that trust that the ingredients are already present and ready is so important. And as you said, every person is a leader and you bring out the leader in each of them. Can you tell us a little bit about what techniques or practices or coaching abilities that you bring out to do that?
Mm, mm. So, for me, one of the most important skills as a coach and as a leader is the quality of listening. So one of the techniques that I'm really approaching when I work with people, with managers, so I and even people in the team, that I say I struggle to see when I work with leaders, because, well, as I've told you, for me, everyone's a leader. So members in
Yeah.
a team, in a software development teams, they are all leaders.
Yeah.
So,
In their
but
own way.
yeah, and I want them to feel like leaders. But let's say if I work in transformation programs with managers of the board of directors, for me, the first tool that I bring is the quality of listening. And the first thing, listening to themselves. We are very much shut down to ourselves, from ourselves, because there's a call to be performant for the others.
Yes.
And the first journey that I invite people to on board is the inner journey. And that's a very hard journey, is listening to themselves. And one of the programs that I developed is working through our own fears, because I believe, well, by my experience, the experience that I have with transformations, I've seen a lot of transformation programs when we bring great techniques, beautiful concepts, but at the end, what stays is either a set of inspiring PowerPoints, a great experience of seminars, of workshops, and one or two individuals that have some awareness and want to shift. But the organization as a whole goes on business as usual.
Yeah.
And I must confess that I felt a little bit frustrated about that. Even if I have success stories and teams that created great products, and yes, but I can't say that a whole organization or a whole enterprise just transform itself to servant leadership, for example,
Yeah.
or created a reliable, long-term, sustainable, psychological safe space.
Agree. Yeah.
And I said, I would really like that to happen. because I truly believe that people are good, and everyone, every sponsor, every stakeholders that launches a transformation program really believes that wants to transform the workspace in a better place. And going back to the practices, what I said, I I sat down and observing and listening to what happens. I realized, I feel that actually we are in a culture of heroes, but heroes that have superpowers, are Superman and Wonder Women.
True. And in fact, talking of which, right, if you're talking about
Exactly.
Wonder Woman,
Exactly.
why don't we transition to the topic that we both were chatting, a few minutes
Yeah,
ago about the feminine power that we would like to bring into the agile
exactly.
space. What are some of your views, Juana?
Exactly. So, staying a little bit more with Wonder Woman, what I think the problem in the business ecosystem is that actually has to prove, um, let's say, masculine qualities. I'm not very comfortable with masculine, feminine, because you might say, well, it's cultural. What does it mean masculine? What does it mean feminine? You
Right.
know, but let's say that in all cultures I've seen, I've worked with, there are two types of qualities. That the one is more action, going forward, structure, purpose, and the other that is more nurturing, more energy, more listening, more accepting vulnerability. And you can call it yin yang, Shakti Shiva, masculine, feminine. The idea is just to put a name on it. And yes, going back to Wonder Woman in today's culture, I would say Western culture, but I think it's true in other culture also, needs to have masculine qualities, focused, deliver, structure, um, no vulnerability. And what I want to work with, and coming back with working with fears, is that to access our true leadership, I think we need to develop this feminine power, which is the power and the courage to show up in vulnerability and be aware of our fears. The feminine power is for me, it's the energy that can build up everything. And but that energy is the energy of everything, even the energy of our own vulnerability.
True.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And I think that vulnerability, in fact, brings me to, the next question, if you will, which is, I mean, I have interacted with several women, and I'm sure you did too, who are brilliant, who has several ideas, and they often want to be out there kind of sharing their views and what they're out there to do, set out to do. But there's always that fear of being vulnerable, number one, and fear of failure, fear of being judged, and most importantly, I think several of them suffer from imposter syndrome. Am I even real? Right? They struggle with their own barriers. Even before we talk about structural barriers, they suffer with internal barriers. And you have done incredible things yourself, Juana, right? You've been a CIO, you've been at conferences, you have done amazing work in this space. What would you like to share to the women who have the fear of being vulnerable? fear of failure? Where can they start, and how can they break, the shackles of that comfort zone, if you will?
Mm. Well, listening to you, the first thing that I want to say is that fear is something that we all share, women and men.
Human
No,
instinct, yeah.
the the fear of failure. I think men also have a huge fear of failure also. So maybe the first thing that we need to acknowledge, and I want to say to the women, fear is something that we share, and fear is something that unites us if we talk about it. And the second thing that I would like to tell women is the first act of courage, and women are brave, it is to acknowledge their fears. Because as we exchanged a little bit before the interview, women have power. And I invite them, as you invite them, to take that power they have and don't let anyone take it away from them. And when I say anyone, I would like to say, women, don't let yourself take your power away from you.
I love that. Right, as you rightly said, it will not happen unless you permit,
Exactly.
right, that to happen. I love that.
Exactly.
Right, I think we reserve the
Exactly.
power to retain it. No, that's fantastic. And maybe, if we really go back to, your own experiences, right? Did you ever go through that period of maybe apprehension, self-doubt? If you did, how did you overcome? Maybe that'll be a good lesson.
Yes, thank you for asking that. Yes, I do all the time. I do all the time. Every time I'm building up something, or I'm realizing something. Even now, before the interview, there's always a little voice that said, "Well, am I good enough? You know, do I have anything interesting to say?" And even if what I have to say might be interesting, um, will I be clear enough?
Mm.
There's always that doubt. It's that doubt that we live by. The way that I don't know if I overcome it, but the way that I'm dealing with it is the first thing, and I really invite all the women, be gentle to yourself and acknowledge that little voice. I have a whole program on that. It's on ego, by the way. How to work with our own ego and soften it. Yeah. So the first is be gentle and acknowledge it. And the second thing is, for me, is what is really important for you. Connect to that.
Yeah.
And when we connect to what is really important for us, what do we want to bring in? We can enter into the flow. This energy, this feminine energy of the flow. And we can dance into that flow and just bring in what we have to bring in as an offer, as a gift, as a talent. I'm pretty sure Padmini and everyone that listens to this interview, that there are moments in our lives that we just feel in the flow. Everything is right.
Agreed.
and and for me, that's the moment when we are connected with something that's important for us. And the way to drop a little bit the imposter syndrome and all this am I good enough? Why should I'm afraid of failure, or I'm afraid of being humiliated because I say something that it's not quite what is needed right now, or the people want to hear. It's really stop and connect with what is truly important for you.
Yeah, no, that's very profound. Um, and I think that that's exactly what might enable them, right? Pause and think what's important for you, and connect with yourself. Because I think if you don't connect with your core,
Mm.
everything else that you do will be irrelevant.
Yeah.
It doesn't show up as authentic anyway. So I think that's a very powerful insight you shared. Thank you so much. And as we wrap up, is there any message that you would like to share with the community? It could be just a word, or a phrase, or anything that you believe in, you live by, that can be valuable to us.
Okay. There was something that was a little bit more than the phrase that is very important for me, and we talked about a little bit before. Um, in this experience with agile transformations, um, we are here in 2020, and we had a systemic planetary lesson from life this year about what truly means a VUCA world,
Yeah.
and about uh, what is the impact of humanity. And what I really want to bring in, and I was here this year to pause and build a model to work with organizations transform agile or transformations, and it's called agile organizational wholeness model. And my invitation, my word for the people that are listening to us is, this is something I've I've um, I've built to offer a model that is aligned with living systems.
Hmm.
Organizations are living systems, and if we want to transform them, it's better to transform them following the way life transforms itself, more than trying to apply the same practices, the same processes at different levels. So my message is, let's step out from the industrial era that created a lot of waste, and enter in the era of cyclic transformations, just like nature does.
Love that. Love that. I think that is such impactful message, Oana, that treating organizations as living organisms,
Yeah,
right? And then apply the same principles of life transformation.
yeah,
And
exactly.
we would be so much more gentle. We would be so much more humane and sensible. So thank you so much for sharing that. It was a very experiential learning for me, in short, conversing with you. And yeah, I really hope this message reaches out to several women out there. And we hope to meet you, see you in a conference, or somewhere in the globe soon. Thank you so much for talking to LIA100 and sharing your insights.
Thank you so much, Padmini.